Welcome to another video brought to you by Cascadia DataWorks. In today's video, we'll discuss a common error I see when reviewing poor performing jet reports, which is the use of NL last instead of NL first. First, we'll cover what NL first and NL last do. Then we'll see how they work when there are multiple values to be returned. And finally, we'll discuss why you should always use NL first instead of NL last. Here's a hint: NL last makes reports run slower. You can think of NL first and NL last as JetReport's version of Excel's VLOOKUP. These functions are useful when there's only one answer, but can be troublesome when there's multiple answers to be found. Let's say this data represents a customer table in our database, and we want the name of the customer with the customer number C100024. With a large dataset in Excel, you may use Excel's VLOOKUP to find this answer quickly. NL first works like VLOOKUP. It searches for the specified value in a column and returns the corresponding value from another column. And just like VLOOKUP, NL first will stop searching the first time it finds the value we asked it to locate. Unlike VLOOKUP though, with JET we can actually specify if we should start at the top and go down using NL first, or start at the bottom and go up using NL last. Now, in this example, I don't have any worries because each customer number occurs only once, so there's really only one answer to this question, and either first or last would return the same answer. But what if we're looking at our sales data? The database uses the primary key to determine the order of the data, and in this case, in our item ledger entry table, that order is determined by the entry number. For you, this entry number means nothing, but the database assigns the next available number anytime an item transaction occurs. So here's a list of my sales data, and we can see that the entry number is in ascending order. But let's say we wanted to find out the first or last time item C100056 was sold. In Excel and JET, I would add a filter to say, let's just look at this specific item number, and the dataset would return something like this. Now here's the problem with NL first and NL last when there are multiple records. With the data in the order of the entry number, NL first and VLOOKUP would return February 22nd, 2016. But if I dig a little bit closer, I can see that I have a December 31st, 2015 within my dataset, so that return value can't be the first date we sold something. Similarly, if I tried to get the last date it was sold, and we scroll to the bottom of this list, according to that data, the date would return 12/12/2017, which we can also see is not right, because there are later dates higher in the dataset. This is a problem because our report is now incorrect. The data returned is just reflecting the order the data was entered into the database, and it's doing exactly what we asked it to do. So how do we fix this? When building an NL first or last and there are multiple answers that could be discovered, you must apply a sort. We're going to stick with the same item of C100056 and find the most recent posting date using the NL last with a sort. I'll open the NL function and select last, and then look at our item ledger entry table. Now we want to return the last or the most recent posting date, so we'll select posting date as our field parameter. Finally, let's add a filter for that specific item. We also want to reorder this list by posting date, so I'm going to choose posting date as a filter and set the filter as any date using the wildcard. And finally, apply the sort to organize the records by date in ascending order. Now I'll hit OK and I'll format this as a date. A quick side note, it is important to note that the preview value here is probably wrong because the preview value does not apply the sort until the report is run. So always make sure you hit run, and we'll see that our answer of May 30th of 2024. Is that right? We can jump back to our dataset and sort the data by posting date, oldest to newest, and then validate our answer. However, the whole premise of this video is that you should never use NL last. So what should you do and why? Instead of using NL last, always use NL first and then reverse the sort. Imagine our dataset again, but this time I've sorted the dates in descending order. It would look like this. Now if I were to use NL first, I would get the same answer as my NL last in the previous example. So let's validate this. I'm just going to copy the NL last and change last to first. And this time I'm going to reverse the sort. We run the report and we see that this answer and the NLast both return the same correct answer. Finally, for the why behind the NL first versus NLast, you have to dig a little bit deeper into how Jet Reports works. On this sheet, I have my queries again. I'm going to open each one and add an NL keyword, which is a special command within the NL function. Down in the filters, I'm going to add show query equals and set it to true and hit OK. Now this only works with nav and BC data sources, but it helps illustrate my point. I'm going to do the same thing for the NL first. Now what we are seeing is the SQL query that is being used to get data from the database, and while it looks very similar, there are two key differences. Notice that in the NLast it has select and order by, but in the NL first it has select top 1 and order by descending. This is the key to why NL first is faster. NL last asks SQL to generate the full list of posting dates, sort them by date, and then SQL passes that full list of dates back to Jet. Since the list is organized in order by posting date, which is the same as ascending order for dates, Jet must then find the last value in the list of dates provided each time. This could be a list of 1 date, 10 dates, 1,000 dates, or 1,000,000 dates long. The longer the list of values, the more data is transferred, and the more work Jet must do to find the right answer. On the other hand, NL first with a reverse sort asks SQL to generate the full list of posting dates, reorganize them in descending order, and then only pass back the top value. This will always pass back one single date back to Jet. For my demo data, I thought about a report that would return the most recent sale date for all of my items. A lot of people use something like this with NL last. And it's probably a good report to keep track of those slow-moving items that maybe we haven't sold in a while. Now, I only have 193 items and sparse demo data, but I counted how many dates would be passed back if I used NL last instead of NL first with a reverse sort. And we can see that many of these have around 1,000 dates. Using NL last, this simple example would pass back about 111,000 dates, which Jet will then need to both reserve memory for and scan to find the last value row by row, whereas NL first would pass back 193 single dates without having to find the last value. As more and more data moves to the cloud, data efficiency is vital. We should always be thinking about what is the smallest amount of data I can pass through the cloud to get the right answer. Hopefully this illustrates why you should avoid using NL last at all costs, and rather use NL first with a reverse sort. Since you can get the same answer either way, it's highly recommended to use the most efficient option of the two. In this video, we explored how NL first and NL last work, discussed applying a sort to the queries when one or more result is possible, and finally looked behind the curtain to explain why you should always be using NL first whenever possible. If you have any questions or would like help with learning how to use Jet reports or just need assistance building reports, be sure to reach out to our team at Cascadia DataWorks to schedule a time to talk. Thank you again for watching and have a great day.